the guys from Ping, they've kind of shown me how much the equipment matters.
I just love that I can hit any shot I kind of want.
We're going to be able to tell some fun stories about what goes on here to help golfers play better golf.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ping Proving Grounds podcast. I'm Shane Bacon, joined as always by Marty Jertz. And Marty, we got one of the nice guys on tour joining us today, Mackenzie Hughes. Mackenzie, a lot of podcasts. Have you had a lot of podcast spots in your life?
I feel like since COVID, I feel like podcasts have really taken off, and I feel like since then, I feel like the podcasts, I've been on quite a few since then, but like prior to that, I don't feel like there was as many, and I feel like now it's it's coming up more and more requests, and first time being on the Ping podcast, so I'm excited.
Are you a podcast listener?
If I have the right drive, I will, and if my kids aren't in the car, which is few and far between, usually it's the kids' TVs going in the back, so you can't quite intermix the audio. But I do like a good podcast, and feel like it can, like, if you got on the right podcast on a nice drive, it can make it go by quick.
What type of podcasts are you into? Health and fitness stuff,
I like those those self-improvement ones, or motivational ones. I mean, like maybe like an Ed Milet podcast, or I actually listened to a podcast, Jason Bateman, Will Arnett.
Smartless?
Yeah.
Good.
That's a good podcast. Those guys are funny. So it just kind of depends what my mood is,
Like a Maple Leafs deal? Do you do hockey podcasts at all?
Sometimes, hockey
like
podcasts.
Or anything like that?
Yeah, those guys are great. Just whatever you're in the mood for. But there's tons of good podcasts out there now, and tons of great content.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Ping Proving Grounds podcast listeners, they're very into we talk tech stuff, golf product design, club fitting, tour player interviews. So this is going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
Mac, to kind of go into some of the details of your gear. I think how you train, get ready for tournaments. I'm personally very interested in your journey, going from, and I've talked to Mike Carroll a little bit, mutual friend of ours, your trainer there on what you've done to kind of boost your ball speed in what you're doing on the fitness side over the last, 5 years or so.
Yeah, he's been great. Kind of changed the way I looked at the fitness side of things. I think I had a pretty good handle on it, but just a little bit different focus for what I'm doing in the gym. And it's nice to see it kind of come through on the golf course. Actually, I was just coming off the range where I was hitting some drivers, and I try to do small groups 2-3 times a week where I'll be hitting drivers like hard with the intent to hit them as hard as I can, and just a way to train that speed. It's like that speed is a skill. It's something you need to work at and consistently do. And I find the more I do that, if I can make sure I'm consistent with that, I can take that to the golf course. And going from a 170, 71 guy to a 178 guy, like that's a big difference, and a huge asset around a course like this for sure.
When you think about like speed, because speed's become such a big part of golf, and you think about over the last, let's call it 8 years, it's really become like a main focus, not just for professional golfers, but for the everyday golfer as well. When do you feel comfortable when you pick up 7-8 mile per hour ball speed and club head speed? When do you start to feel comfortable going out on the golf course in a tournament and feeling like, okay, I can unleash this one? Maybe you're playing Phoenix and you're on 3. And you're like, I'm going to send one, right of that bunker.
Yeah.
Does it take a level of commitment, in terms of practice to feel that comfortable doing it in a tournament?
Yeah. I mean, I think the good thing about it, as you're making speed gains, it's not as if you overnight go from 72 to 79. So that gradual step up where, 1 week I go, I'm averaging 75 that week. And then the next week I'm averaging, just over 75. And then in 3 months I'm averaging 77.5 or, and it's slowly creeping up. But like the idea with when I'm doing it on the range, I like to swing the way I'll do on the course. So it just I'm simply adding like a little bit of intent to hit it harder, but typically swing within the same framework of my swing. I'm not lifting up my left heel or trying to jump off the ground. I'm not doing anything like that. So I try to make it as similar as possible to what I'm going to do on the course, so I can at least bring that swing to the course. Now, there is an element of trust too, because if you stand on the tee on, let's say 15 to par 5, and you're going to gear back and hit one a little harder, well, you can't miss it really anywhere.
Right.
Like you need
left
to
bad, right bad.
Yeah. So you need to hit a really straight drive there, and honestly, distance isn't a huge priority there because you hit it 330 down there, it gets pretty narrow and necky. So you hit it 310 off a tee, which is not too difficult to do here in Phoenix. You know, you're in a nice spot hitting a 4-iron in there. So you kind of pick your spots, right? Like, you know, 11T is a little squeeze cut for me, preferably a little bit off the heel, a little spinny.
Just get it in play.
You get it in place. You know, I want that ball spinning left to right. So there's your moments. You got to pick your moments where like, hey, this is a full send, or this is like a little, you know, feeler. But I think you look at the list of winners here. You know, typically, you know, length is a big advantage to have. I mean, there's some bunkers that, you know, like on 8, you know, like when Rory plays here, those bunkers aren't in play.
Yeah.
You know, that's a huge advantage for that hole. I mean, that whole right of the bunkers is tight.
It's tight, yeah.
Over those bunkers, you got the world.
Yeah.
So I think it's just something it's kind of opened my eyes to know how important it is. And look, I know what's coming behind me, and it's fast. So I'm just trying to keep up. I just played a practice round with the 2 Højgaard brothers and Jesper Svensson. And I mean, they had their quads out there all day, you know, 82 to 85 all morning. And I mean, it was morning. So I was like, I'm not moving as good. And, you know, I'm probably in the, you know, low to mid 170s, and they're already cruising in the, you know, mid to low 180s. And I'm like, that's different. So I know, you know, that's kind of the way the game is going now. And it doesn't matter what they do to equipment, what they do to the ball, the golfer and the athlete will just get faster.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing it throughout every sport. I mean, you think about how quick and athletic defensive linemen are right now. I mean, it's so incredible. They're running 4.3s, 4.4s. Marty, I wanted to ask you, I mean, obviously with stack and everything like that, I thought Mackenzie said something very interesting about, like, not overswinging just to overswing, like trying to kind of make a swing in practice that would be a swing on the golf course. How do you talk to people that are using stack in terms of that mentality, where it's not just, I'm swinging as hard as I can as I'm practicing, and then I got to go take that out on the golf course?
Yeah, that's where we have, in our training, we have different intents, and Mac talked about that exactly. There's a certain intent you need to take, and if you can do it on the range, right? And then one big thing we like to do, which is the guys were doing in your practice round this morning, is measure your ball speed on the course. So whether it's, you know, a little radar you take out there, I mean, I think a lot of the guys using quad are probably just looking at ball speed.
Yeah.
So it's like taking that ball speed to the course.
A carry number, but really just a couple numbers, because they're not lining it up for any club data.
Just,
you know, they're just looking to carry speed, you know, stuff like that. Actually, the PRGR that comes with stack, the Speed 6, is actually really good. I'm not sure if you use it at all, but like next to my TrackMan, the ball speed numbers are like, they never miss.
Yeah.
I don't look at club speed, but ball speed, which is really what I'm after. It's money.
Yep.
I mean, you just slide that thing in your bag, pull it out. I mean, I kind of get some looks sometimes. They're like, "Oh, look at that little thing!" Like, you know,
exactly.
I got my quad out here, and I got my little PRGR. But I've been a TrackMan guy, so like that's not real. You can't bring on the course. So the PRGR, like, just to get a few practice round numbers is great.
Yeah, no, it's sweet. That's what I like to do, Shane. Is just, if I'm playing 9 holes in the cart late in the evening, put our stack radar. It's like the PRGR, really good for ball speed. Just put it in your cup holder. You can put it down on every single tee box, because ultimately you want to bring that speed to the golf course.
Yeah, and I think the idea is that you get more comfortable doing it the more often you do it. So if you're doing it in practice, and then you're doing it when you play a match with your buddies, and then you go do it when you play a tour event, like it just gives you the confidence that this is okay. You know, I can actually go this fast, and it's still. And I actually like to use the mentality sometimes of, like, people say, like, and then the old way of teaching was like slow and smooth, right? Like, you just want to hit a straight, but like, if I asked a baseball player to throw a strike, he wouldn't throw it softer to make sure he threw a strike. He'd probably throw a fastball, right? He's going to throw it fast to throw it straight, you know? And I just think that sometimes, like, we think that if you're going to go faster, we're going to be more crooked. But I've actually found that, like, when I swing it hard, my dispersion is as good, if not better. So, but there's a trust element to that.
How about from a shot shaping standpoint? You mentioned, you know, hitting little control cuts out there. When you're trying to hit a far one, are you trying to hit it straight?
Yeah, when I'm hitting it further, I'm teeing it a little bit higher, and generally that ball's flying straight to maybe even falling left.
Okay.
Just kind of what happens when I swing it harder.
Yep.
I tend to get a little bit more up on it and a little bit more right. But I know that. Well, that's kind of what happens. And then, you know, my my stock or more, teed down swing is a little more on top of it and a little more cut biased. But again, it's nice. Just you guys gotta know. You gotta know your tendencies, know what happens as you're gonna hit it harder. But yeah, I think there's still a time and a place, right? There's like you get on certain holes out here, and being 300 in the middle of the fairway is just fine.
Yeah.
So just get the ball in play, find a way to get out there. So.
How crazy was it last year having 3 players from Kent State on that President's Cup team? Like I was going through some of the teams this morning. It's like, you get Bama and you get Texas and you get these teams you expected to see, and then Kent State, you got 3 players represented. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that was a huge point of pride for our school. My golf coach, Herb Page, like that's just doesn't happen very often or ever really. And a mid-American school. And we're not Texas, we're not Alabama, but we've held our own over the years, and I think we're proud of that. We're proud of the talent that's gone through there, and obviously a lot of Canadians going through that pipeline. But yeah, it was such a thrill, not only to be on that team, but to share it with 2 really good friends of mine, Corey and Taylor, and it was that was a dream week.
You guys, I noticed you also traveled to South Africa last fall to play that event. How'd that come to be? Why'd you go down there? I saw you had a great finish, and Corey did as well.
Yeah, I think as I'm in year 9 now, and I think it's cool to get those opportunities and to see other parts of the world. And I've played on tour now for a while, and I've seen lots of great places, but I hadn't been down there, and I just had the opportunity to go. They have those spots available to the 10 PGA Tour spots down there, and I got an invite to go down, and it was kind of a no-brainer. I just thought it would be a cool experience. I had heard nothing but great things, and we got treated awesome down there. Corey and our caddies and a couple others did a safari, which was a really cool experience, and just everything about it was really fun. Animals all over the golf course. We were playing the one day, and we were on this par 3 elevated tee, and this herd, I don't even call it a herd or a pack, of chimpanzees just started coming across the hole.
Are you uncomfortable?
And well, I was I didn't think anything of it, but they're oh, those are vicious. You gotta stay away from those guys because they're mean. And I had no idea, but they looked like they could be pretty aggressive.
Yeah,
and,
I'm imagining they could.
And then I was over a putt 10 minutes later on that same hole. And I'm just about to hit my putt, and I hear this growling and screaming, and I'm like, "What is that?" And it was 2 chimpanzees, just 100 yards away, just scrapping, just having a fight over something. And that was probably the first time in my career I backed off for a chimpanzee fight. So
hopefully your last. Too,
but no, it was really cool. I loved it down there. Gary Player was the host. Got to meet him, and just a really fun week.
It feels like there's a push right now from pros. I don't know who kind of started this, but there seems to be, and you said it, you've been doing this for a long time, there seems to be an appreciation or at least an interest in a little bit more global golf. There's players that are more interested in going and playing in Australia, around Australian Open and things like that, go to Africa and play. Do you feel that amongst your peers, that it's not just the localized tournaments that you play each and every year, but to try to expand the horizons a bit and play elsewhere that you haven't been before?
Yeah, and I think in this career, you don't really know how long it will ever last, right? You can get hurt, and things can end abruptly. You hope that never happens. But when you have the opportunities and you get to a point like I am in my career, I just think that you take those chances, you take the opportunities, and you just don't look back. My next one I'd love to do is Australia, like you said, go do those 2 back-to-back. I'd love them to be on Royal Melbourne,
right.
And
the big boys.
Yeah. So maybe I'll try and line up with one of those those venues. But yeah, I think it's just cool to go see those places. It's cool to travel the world to do what we do, because like you said, you can kind of get very comfortable in the bubble of the PGA Tour, where we travel a little bit, but we're very much within the U.S. and it's cool to kind of expand your experiences and your horizons a little bit. And we're so fortunate to do what we do, and now to have the alliance with the DP World Tour, some of those opportunities open up a little bit easier. Go play Wentworth next year. That would be something I'd love to do. I've heard nothing but amazing things about that. It's basically the players of the DP World Tour. So yeah, just it's fun to have those opportunities, and I think, getting to my stage in my career, I'm like, oh, I want to go do it now while I have the chance, and they still want me down there.
Yeah, I mean, like Rory, this winter, it's December, and he goes on a golf trip, to New Zealand because he's always wanted to do that. When's the last kind of casual golf trip you've been on?
It's been a minute.
Do you have any interest in doing something, or a place you haven't played that you've always wanted to play?
I would like to do like a abandoned trip maybe one day.
Nice.
I've never done that. People that ask me that, though, it's like, I mean, you have kids?
Yeah.
I've got 3 kids. So I get to go home
Right.
on a...
Your vacation's kind of going home.
Yeah, like I want to go
Yep.
home and be home.
Yep.
And then you get 5 weeks off in the off season. You want to be home, and and I want to be also with my kids, but who aren't traveling with me right now. So like it's tough to just go home and then pick up and say, hey, I'm going to go play more golf. I'm going to go play more.
They're not going to pay me for this. I'm actually going to
Going
pay
to
for it.
It's a really tough sell to my wife. And also,
Charlotte to Bandon's not a quick trip.
yeah, and also just like for me, it's not the right time.
Yeah.
But at some point there will be a time for that. My kids will be in high school and they'll have their own activities, and maybe I'll be home a bit more, and that opportunity opens up one week. I go for 5 days, 6 days, and but it's phase 2, I think. Right now we're so busy week to week, so many tournaments every year, but that will slow down, and then they'll open up a time to do that.
Marty, do you have a place you haven't played that you want to play? A golf course?
I think Australia. I haven't been down to Australia.
Okay.
Australia sounds amazing.
That's a big golf trip.
Yeah.
It's a big golf
know.
trip, but I mean,
That's,
now you're talking 10, 12, 14 days, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you're spending time. I mean, obviously the Melbourne golf is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're gonna fly that far, you're gonna be there for a little bit.
Speaking of kids, Mac, I heard your 7-year-old just got a set of prodigies. Is that
Yeah,
right?
he
How's his fitting? How's his back? How's his game?
So he's 7 years old. The driver we actually had, it was funny. It was in 23. He had his driver cut down at the Masters, so we brought it to the Masters. He had it worked on at Augusta.
That's cool.
So he had his clubs worked on at Augusta, and I did not. I had no clubs worked on that week, but my son had his driver dialed in. So he loves it. He loves his driver. His irons, I feel like they're a little bit big for him at his age. So he's got a couple like shorter ones that are non-ping, but they're just like a little bit better sizing for him. He'll grow into the prodigy ones, but that driver's awesome. The putter's great. And he loves it. Like he loves playing now, and he's been to some pretty cool tournaments. He went to the President's Cup, and he's actually walked some rounds now. So he's walked. I think he walked 4 full rounds last year in 24. So that's pretty big at 7 years old.
Yeah.
Like, it's a big commitment to walk a full round of golf. Include some treats. You gotta get some treats along the way to
Always got to have the
Yep.
keep the interest as you go
Yep.
along. But he's actually into it now. He does it twice a week in like a group setting, which I think is great because you have fun doing it. It's not so structured, but there's information, there's lessons learned, and then there's that element of I'm running around with my buddies too.
Yeah.
And the winning team gets a little treat, and so that's been a great thing for him. And when I ask him, he's like golf's his number one. He's playing flag football, basketball. He's playing baseball, but golf's number one right now. So that's pretty cool.
I mean, the balance too. I mean, Marty, I'm sure you went through this as well, but the balance of like being a golfer, being in golf, not wanting to feel like you're pushing golf down their throat, but at the same time, kind of wanting, like I'm dealing this with my son right now. It's like wanting them to play golf with you.
Yep.
So the balance is always kind of tough to really refine, but it's cool that you're at a place now where it seems like there's kind of good synergy there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I don't care one way or the other. Like I just wanted him to experience all of those things, experience all those sports, and then just let him decide. He might not like golf, but he might love it, and if he does, that'd be a huge bonus. Because
now the Bandon trip's an easier sell too.
Exactly.
Well, that's where this whole question started.
Yeah.
Let me get to when they're 16. Then we're gonna go on a family trip to Bandon.
And then my wife, she's got a set of pings as well, so she's wanting to get into it as well, but at the same time, she has the 3 small kids,
right?
At home all the time. So like even that is like, when's the time for her to go do it? But there will be a time, and she will get into it at some point. And it'll be fun if we can do that in a family setting and just go to Quail, play 9 holes, have dinner, and even if it's just play 3 holes, 4 holes, but just to do it together and make it a group effort and where we're all together, that'd be cool one day.
Super fun. Speaking of sports, what were your sports? What was your sports, and when did you kind of go all in on golf growing up?
So I think, I was kind of like my son, where like growing up, I played a little bit of baseball early. Probably only like, let's say a 3 or 4 year window where I played baseball. Played hockey growing up till I was like 14 years old, which is kind of a rite of passage in Canada.
Yep.
Let's see. I played a little bit of volleyball in high school, in the winter months. And so I really I did soccer as well, but I was kind of doing a little bit of everything, tasted a little bit of everything. But I kind of found out like around like the 12, 13 year mark that I didn't love team sports quite as much. And I was playing golf at that time. I loved what golf asked of you because I felt like, I'd go to the course and I could spend 5-6 hours by myself practicing and playing, and I found enjoyment in that. I found like that the solitude was nice, and I'm a social person with also a little bit of that intrinsic personality as well, where I can actually do quite well like on my own for quite a while. And I found like golf just like was so peaceful, and I loved that golf was like just on you, like you go put the time in, you go do some work, like, but whether it's going great or going poorly, like it was on your shoulders. And like I felt like with team sports sometimes you get stuck with like teammates you didn't like, or these guys are putting in tons of effort, these guys aren't. So I don't know, that was a big part of what drew me to golf too. And but I did try quite a few sports growing up. When I was playing hockey at 13, 14, I hadn't really hit a growth spurt yet. And like youth sports can be kind of tough. Like I'm trying to picture like what the comparison would be like football in the States maybe.
Yeah.
But like you're 11, 12 years old and you're playing football. Well, there's like 12-year-olds that are 6 feet tall and 165, 170 pounds. And then there's 12-year-olds that are 5'2" and 120 pounds. And I was that kid. I was the small, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, and I found like I'm playing hockey and I'm getting pushed around here, and I'm like, golf
might not be for me.
Yeah, golf sounds a little better. And when I was like 14, I hit a big growth spurt, and I basically grew like 8 inches in a year. I went from like being 5'3" to almost 6 feet tall in a year. And then playing golf, I was like, oh, this is great. Like, I'm hitting the ball way further. And I went, from kind of poking it out there to hitting some pretty big drives at 15 years old. And but I think it's like when I talk to people now, like I feel like I get that question a lot. Hey, Mackenzie, my youngest son's playing golf. He's 8 or 9. Like, what do you recommend for him? I'm like, don't specialize in golf now. Don't limit him to just golf at 8 or 9 years old. Let him play sports. Let him be a kid, because you don't need to do golf 24/7 to be really good at golf at that age. And they're gonna become sick of it. You're gonna grow out of the sport.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're pushed into it or you're forced to basically only do golf at that age. And so I tell people all the time, and tell parents, like, keep your kids in a lot of sports. Like, let them have the balance, and let them decide a little later on, like, what it is they want to do. Because they might not want to do golf. But if you push them into golf, I don't think that's how you have success.
Yep.
Like, if you don't want to play golf and your kid doesn't want to, like, they're not going to, like, you have to want it. They have to want it. And I always wanted it when I was a kid. My parents weren't taking me to the course. I was like, hey, Mom, like, take me to the course. I want to go.
Yeah.
Pick me up at dark. But if your kids aren't telling you that, there's probably a reason why. And so I encourage parents all the time, like, hey, like, let's let your kids play sports, let them play what they want to play. And at maybe 13, 14 years old, they go, hey, Dad, I really like golf, and maybe I want to play a little baseball, or I want to play a little basketball. Like, I'm gonna like narrow it down. But they will tell you, they're smart.
Versus them being pushed into the corner. By the way, you mentioned football being like the hockey version. I was the same way. I was really small until like 9th grade, and I grew.
Yeah.
8th grade, about 5 foot tall, and I went around the corner catching a pass, and this guy that played safety at Baylor hit me, helmet off, fumble. That was the end of my football career. That was it. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. You realize quickly maybe golf's going to be my sport or maybe tennis is going to be my sport, but I'm sure not going to be this sport because this is not for me.
Yeah.
I think that's a good message out there because I think we live in a society now where I want my kid to be this. They need to do this all the time.
Yeah.
It's not really how we work. I mean, we change interests and, as adults, right?
Yeah. And I feel like the culture around sports is definitely different in the United States. I mean, I definitely noticed that coming from Canada, that the intensity and the focus around sports, especially at a young age, like it's ramped up quickly. Like my son was playing baseball this past fall, was barely 7 years old, and the coach is out there arguing calls on the mound with the other, and I'm like, I can assure you these kids don't care that much. Let's let it go.
Right, right.
And the parents,
like you care more than they care,
and the parents really don't care. So like, let's move on. But yeah, I just think that can kind of like take away from the kids' enjoyment of it if it becomes too serious too early. And look, at 7, 8, 9 years old, I mean, we're not moving mountains. Like these kids are just there to have fun, learn the game, and God, I just think it gets too serious too quickly, in my opinion. Looking at it from the outside, like I see parents, working with their kids at the course and doing certain things, and I'm like, and I don't step in. It's not my place, but I see it. I can see it from the outside a lot, and I just think if it was me giving advice, I'd say, hey, I think less is more at that age. Let them have fun, let them be kids, and then they figure it out.
Mackenzie, we talked a little bit about your distance gains and how important that's been to you. I think it's been incredible looking at your short game stats over your entire career. Strokes gained around the green, strokes gained putting. Mm-hmm. Your stats have been incredible. What do you do to kind of maintain? Have you always been a good putter, even before you got on tour? And then what do you do to kind of maintain? What do you think your strengths are from a putting standpoint?
So I'd say like before I got on tour, I felt I was a good putter, but I would have been classified as a streaky putter, I think. Like I got hot at times, but week to week it wasn't where I wanted it to be. Playing Corn Ferry Tour, and then I felt like my rookie year on tour, I found something, and from that point on, I'd say I've been one of the better putters out here for the last 6, 7, 8 years.
What'd you find?
I can't really pinpoint, to be honest, what I found that particular year, but I found a feel in my stroke, and to be honest, I putt differently now, but I found a feel in my stroke, and for whatever reason that it just felt really good. I was able to kind of ride that out for a long time, but I made a ton of putts, and the hole started to look big to me.
It wasn't a grip change or a stroke change or anything necessarily, just something clicked in the brain.
Just a little feel, and then I started to like roll a few like weeks together where I was like, man, I'm making a lot of nice putts, a lot of mid-range putts, and then it just kind of felt like that became a little more normal. It just felt like making putts was like became a normal thing for me, and then I just kind of stumbled that confidence. But like, to be honest, when I look back at my stroke from my rookie year, I don't like it. But I was the 8th ranked putter on tour that year. I was aiming left and I was pushing it on line, but I did it every single time. Mm-hmm. And I've kind of straightened it out since then. But like the confidence I built from a year like that, like still it carried with me. Like I saw the ball going in the hole a lot, and then I'd have weeks where I gained 3, 4, 5 strokes putting, and that was like a big jump up for me that rookie year. And like I say, like now to like maintain where I'm at with my putting, I really feel like I do the same thing almost every single day. So, and I don't do anything really fancy, but like I start my day with start line straight, left to right, right to left. I'll do that for 15 minutes, and I do the same like 3 or 4 drills every day, speed, short putt drills. But I don't really vary my routine hardly at all. And then as far as like what I focus on when I'm on the course, my focus is really down to like what I can control in my box. So I call it like my I'm in my play box right over the ball, and like I'm really someone that's very process oriented with like, hey, if I like check those boxes off, I can accept the outcome over
Gotcha.
here. So I'm not like a guy that's like, hey, like miss, make, good putt, bad putt. I'm like, oh, I missed this putt from 8 feet. I hit a great putt. I did what I was trying to do. Great putt.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like that actually helps from a confidence standpoint, because if I was just basing my confidence on miss, make, well, I wouldn't be very confident, because you miss a lot more putts than you make. So I feel like you can gain confidence from hitting a putt from 10 feet that you feel like you rolled it well, did what you're trying to do. Oh, I missed, but I did what I was trying to do. So I think that's something that's helped me, and something I kind of try to tell amateurs sometimes is like, hey, you know, you missed that 12-foot putt, but like the odds are you were going to miss that putt. So like, I don't know why you're mad. Like you hit a good putt over the right edge. Like, oh, I should have made that putt. Well, no, you shouldn't have. You're a 12 handicap. You know, it's a 12-foot putt. You know, my odds are probably 30% or 40% to make that putt. Your odds are 15% or 10%.
Maybe.
So, yeah. So
Well, I was going to say, I mean, that like, to your point, it feels like amateurs struggle with accepting like the percentages.
yeah, I think that's a big thing. Like if you could lay out ahead of time, hey, before you hit this putt, this 15-footer, realize you are a 1 in 20 chance of making this putt for like a 12 handicap.
Right.
Like if I lay that out to you right now, like that's going to change the way you approach that putt probably.
Yeah, just try to hit it solid, maybe it goes in.
Yeah, solid with good speed.
Right.
Get it on a reasonable line. And you 2-putt, you've probably like exceeded the expectations.
Yeah.
You know? But I think the mentality is like, oh, I watch on TV, they make them all the time. You know? All leaders make these putts all the time. But like, again, you show the guys playing the best every week, and when you guys flip to a shot, you typically aren't going to like many misses.
Right.
You know, like you guys
It's Saturday, you're not going to show an 8-footer miss. Right?
Yeah. So we watch guys make putts all the time, and I think people are programmed to think, oh, a 10-foot putt, you make these. They're like free throws.
Right.
They're not.
No, I know.
And the greens are smoother on tour.
Yeah, we put on better. We put on better
very
greens.
good greens.
Yeah,
that's actually a sneaky good point
Oh,
too.
yeah,
It's like
no.
when they're
their odds
carpet,
go down for sure.
the percentage is going to go up.
Public golf course, the odds go down.
Yeah,
for
the
sure.
odds are going to go way down.
Yeah.
I want to hear the father-in-law cell phone bill story. Can you tell that for us if you don't mind?
Yeah. So I was playing a Corn Ferry event in New York. It was at Peak.
This what year is this? Like
This is
2016-ish?
2016, Peak and Peak. And this is actually the year I got my tour card. And this is actually a great story because, so I'm like 3 or 4 out. I do the Monday qualifier. And I started the year with a full card, had the first eight starts or so. Hadn't played great in the first like third of the year. Was out on the outside looking in. Monday qualified, but missed. I got in on my number the next day. So Tuesday I get in the tournament. Don't have a caddy lined up. My buddy Keith from Canada comes up, caddies for me. And first day, just a kind of a prelude to the story, he puts his running shoes on top of the car next to us. And we pulled out of our house that week. We're staying at my in-laws, and we pull out of the driveway, and he's wearing his Birkenstock sandals, but he leaves his shoes on the other car. So we get to the course, morning tee time Thursday, and he's squeaking down the first hole with his sandals on.
His Birkenstock, yeah, I love
so
that.
barefoot in his sandals, just caddying for me, kind of walking through the rough, feet are soaked. I'm like, sweet, nice job, dude. You had one
This is how the
job.
week's
Like,
gonna go, yeah.
bring your shoes next time. So Friday, so I shoot even part of the first day, and the cut's going to be low. It's probably going to be 5 or 6 under. So I needed to go out there and shoot a really low round on Friday. And my father-in-law, we're sitting there at the house on Thursday night, and at this point, my wife and I are still on the family plan. So
Yep.
I think I'm 25 years old. And I somehow managed to get my way onto the family plan. And so my father-in-law's paying the phone bill, and he goes, "All right, I'll make you a deal. You can stay on the family plan for another year if you shoot 600 tomorrow." So I'm like, "All right, that's a fair deal." And we're going down the last hole. I finished on number 9. I hit the shot in there to like 8 feet, and at this point, I'm thinking about it. Like I'm like, oh, I forgot about that bet. So
You're thinking about cell phone
yeah.
bills.
So now I've
I've
made the cut. I've got I think a shot to spare. Got birdie putt in the last hole, and I just center cut it. And I look over, they're 100 yards down the fairway, and I was doing one of these. And my wife's obviously cheering, and it was super funny. But yeah, that's a cool story.
How long did you get the bill paid for another year?
Another year on
Nice.
the family plan. So that
When
was,
did they kick you off? What happened to get you kicked off the bill?
I think later that year I got my tour card, and
Yeah,
then it
that'll
was
do it.
yeah, you're good now. You guys are fine. So, but it was that's a cool story.
That's great. And you played well the rest of the week, right? Did
Yeah,
you play
yeah.
well?
I actually finished 5th that week, which was a big week for me. Got me in the next kind of wave of tournaments, and then a month and a half later I won, and then got my tour card. Wow. So it's crazy how you're on the outside looking in. Yeah, you're not sure if you're gonna play that week. You play well. A month later you win, and you're on the tour, and it's it just boom, it happens, and you feel a month prior to that, you kind of feel like you're in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden,
you're almost questioning what should I be doing this, and then all of a sudden,
can I do this? Am I at this level? Can I have that breakthrough? And then a month later I win, and then 2 months later I went on tour, and you're just wait, I wasn't sure I was good enough.
Hello world.
Yeah, yeah. So
I don't have to worry about $220 AT&T bill anymore. I'm good to go.
It's crazy what that little bit of belief and self-confidence does. But from actually doing it, it's one thing to say, hey, I am good enough, but once you see it, and it you have that that peak and peak was the kind of a bit of a breakthrough performance for me, where I'm hey, I was on the outskirts of contention here and had a chance to somewhat win there, and that was a big one for me, where I'm I can do this. And then I went on the Corn Ferry, and then when I was I had the lead at the RSM that year, and I'm I just won 2 months ago. I can do this, but the guy 6 months ago, wasn't sure, right? So it's crazy how it just it clicks, and it's okay, I can do this, and yeah, hello world. That's right.
And you wanted a big playoff.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Was it 5-man
playoff?
5-man playoff.
And it went into Monday morning.
Did you guys play all 5, or did you split up?
So we played all 5.
Awesome.
Played 2 holes on Sunday night, and then ran out of light. Had to come back Monday morning, but we lost 1 on the first playoff hole, I think, and then came back the next morning to play 1 more hole. So, but even that, I look back and the fact that I won that playoff, the way it played out, was just so the stats would just be there's no chance. I hit it long left, I pitched up, and I almost hit a great shot, but I left it just short of the green, and I had a 16-foot putt from the fringe. And everyone had missed the green. I mean, this is 195 yards, 42 degrees, winds in off the right. This is the first swing of the day. And everyone misses the green. And everyone gets it inside me. So everyone's got a putt from inside me. I'm the first to go. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if I can make this, I can put the heat on. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, I make it. And I watched 3 guys miss. But at no point when I made the putt, was I just won. I was man, I get to play 1 more.
Right.
And I'm is it going to be 2 guys? One, but one of these guys is going to make it. And once the first guy missed, but I'm okay, there's still 2, and then it didn't hit me till the second guy missed. I'm oh shit!
Do you know who the last guy was to putt?
Camilo.
Okay.
So Camilo had a 6-foot putt, and he's above the hole, kind of a little bit of a soft left to righter. And that was the first moment I allowed myself to think, oh, if this ball doesn't go in, I win. But I'm no, he's going to make it. We're going to go to 18. And then blinks and he misses it. And I'm wow. I was just what just happened? Yeah. So crazy stuff.
Well, your putt, we talked about your putting, how good that's been. And what about your wedge setup? I find is very unique. You play your lob wedge at 63 degrees, is that right?
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing that? And I'm always curious because I've hit a 64, 63 occasionally. How far can you max that out if you hit it full? And do you hit it full shots with it much?
I actually do, because I find that there is a time when you want to hit something that's 90 to 95 yards or even 100 yards that has a lot of spin on it.
You just
you
rip
front pin with a firm green.
Yeah.
So I can max that out at about 100 yards.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
63 degree?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I'd be like 80, maybe.
Yeah.
Like a
I mean,
blooper.
you
It might
know,
land 90.
yeah. And obviously, you're putting it back in your stance. It's a bit more back-footed.
Yeah.
That ball cannot be forward of your stance at all, or it's it's going like this. So, and I don't do it a ton, where I'm ever like maxing that club out. But again, there will max that club out because it will get firm by the weekend. I'll have a shot from 100 yards with maybe a little bit of helping wind, and I'll want that ball to have as much spin as it can possibly have. Whereas if I hit that 56 and I'm taking 15 yards off it and trying to control it, hit a three-quarter shot, that ball could bounce, check, and be 30 feet past the hole quickly. So, I think it's important to have that ability to stop it quick at times. And I always felt like around the greens, I wanted to have as much loft as possible with a particular club, because I always know I can go down and loft. If I need to hit a low shot, I can go to 56, I can go to gap, or I can put the lob wedge back in my stance. I can always decrease that loft, but adding and creating excess loft on tour, I feel like around the greens is a big advantage, because we play a lot of 4 pins, 4 steps from the right, 3 from the right, firm, short-sided a lot. To me, on tour, it became a huge advantage to have all that height, all that speed and spin, because at 60 or 58 degrees, yeah, it's great, but at 63, you look at that club and you go, oh man, I can get to basically any pin around these greens. And so I felt like I was playing with 62, and I ended up adding a degree of loft, and I've never really regretted it, and I've just kind of gone with it. And like I said, when I'm pitching with that club, you wouldn't know it's 63. You'd watch me around the greens, go, oh, you're just kind of pitching with a 60 or 58, put it back in my stance, I drive them. But then when I need to, I can get that ball up in the air quick.
When did you go from? Did you grow up using a 60?
Yeah.
When did you go to a 62?
I was always a pitching wedge, 52, 56, 60 guy.
60.
Just nice and clean. And then I was kind of messing around one time, and I just feel like, I think it was my last caddy, was just hey, why don't you just add some loft to that? Why don't we just we can always take it down, but let's just see if we like it a little more.
Yeah.
And I think I started at 62, and then I was like, hey, how far can we go with this? And they're like, 63, that's probably about as much as you want to go. And so
I was going to ask if you thought 64, 65.
Yeah. Is there what's the legal limit? What's the legal? Is there?
You can go to anything.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Ball just slip right up the face, but you can do it.
This is
What
my
do you
80-degree lob wedge.
think the most loft you could play with, and actually what would be reasonable? If you had 68 degrees of loft,
that's why I'm very curious because it's rare to play one at 63. There's not a lot of guys out there doing it, because the ball starts to you get into the friction between the ball and the face, and the ball starts to just slip more than grip.
Yeah.
And in order to get spin, you need the ball to kind of stick on the face. That's the grip force.
Yeah.
But you have to have a lot of speed to do it, to get it to grip. This is why you see Phil and Bubba, now the high-speed players of the world, using the high lofted wedge to get a little more spin around the greens. But I think you could, I don't know, you hit a flop shot, you got the face open to 80, 85 degrees probably, right?
Yeah.
If you're really sending one up there.
Yeah. How many guys do you think on tour have more than 60?
I think it's probably under 10%. Under 10%.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's going to go that way. Just as we get longer and longer and longer, I wonder if guys are going to creep into the 63, 64, 65 degree world.
Well, and I think too, if you're a guy that cruises at 185, 190 ball speed, I would want to have an extra wedge,
yes.
not a 3 iron.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
For a guy like that, it's more valuable to have tighter gaps at those wedges, and also a wedge that you could hit from 105 yards or 110 yards, but hit it full,
right, yep,
and create tons of spin. I think that's probably the way it would creep. Because guys now just have so much speed, and those opportunities to hit those wedges become more prevalent.
Could be laying out a new trend. This could be the next trend of the professional golfer. As we wind down, I wanted to ask, how pumped are you to have a major at home this year?
Really pumped. That's we talked about that being very unique. Just to have,
your home course
tournament
as well.
Yeah, a tournament in your own backyard is one thing. A major at your home course, that's a weird one, but be super fun. Just to have the Clone Club support, to be in your own bed. Yeah, that's going to be really cool.
Is there added pressure? Like, do you
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
added amount of like, I've got to play well, I've got to make the cut, like I've got to do those things?
You definitely feel those things, but I think that's normal. And I think that as that week comes closer, I'll talk to my guy and my team, and we'll basically come to grips with like, hey, yeah, you're gonna want to do well because it's your home course and everything like that. But like, this is no different than any other week, and you have to have the mentality, I think, of like embracing that. Like, hey, I'm gonna see a bunch of people that know me, and everyone's gonna be wanting me to do well, and that's fun. Like look at it like a positive.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna have extra support, and whether I play great or don't, like they're behind me. Rather than viewing it like, oh man, I gotta play well, my home course. Like, so if you can kind of frame it the right way, I think it's purely a positive thing. But there's definitely like, yeah, there's still that element of like, hey, I know that course really well. I know I've played it really well, but now can I play it really well in a major in my backyard? Yeah, hopefully I can. I mean, I played well there last year in the Wells, and honestly, I don't feel like the setup's gonna be a ton different. I mean, Quail Hollow wakes up when it's ready to go.
It's always Quail Hollow.
It's
It doesn't
ready to
change
go,
much.
and new tee on 9. That's gonna be pretty spicy. That hole's like 515 now. It was like 485 before, so actually becomes tough to kind of get past the corner. I don't know if you can picture that hole, but guys kind of drive at the top of that hill. Bunkers in play on the right. I've yet to come close to that bunker from that back tee. Now it's been the winter in Charlotte, but it's a bit more demanding off the tee because now it really needs to be kind of center to right center, and but for a guy like Rory, he's not going to think twice about it. He's still going to go up and over that corner. I don't think Johnny was too thrilled with the bunker on 16 still being flyable last year. We had a little bit of tailwind last year, and it was 340. But like, I mean, he's the only guy flying it. But like, he's flying it with the lead on Sunday, and you're like, I just put that bunker
brand
there.
new bunker.
Brand new bunker, brand new tee. Like, oh.
This was supposed to be hard.
It's all right. We got a parking lot behind the tee, so we can still
You got room.
We got room to go back. Yeah.
Marty, we were talking before we got going about home games, and you had
Yeah.
a funny story about playing when you played the Phoenix Open. What were you saying? The weirdest part of it was when you were driving back home?
Yeah, just driving into my neighborhood and all my neighbors, and I got the courtesy car, and I'm like, what's this guy doing? They
Phoenix
don't know.
Open
They
on
don't
the
know I'm a
side.
golfer. I'm just a neighbor to them.
Yeah. Who's staying at this house?
I'll return this one on Sunday
Yeah,
night, and then
yeah,
we'll
I'll
go
bring
back
it
to my
back,
regular vehicle.
Yeah.
That was so fun.
What were you driving? An F-150? What were you driving?
It was an SUV that year. SUV.
Yeah.
I think it was a Ford SUV.
Okay.
But I mean, it's plastered. You can't
Yeah,
miss it.
I know. They're
They probably thought I was hosting a player for the week.
They're staying with me this week.
Exactly.
Mackenzie, we appreciate the time. Good luck the rest of the season. And yeah, always fun to watch you play and good chatting with you.
Yeah. Thanks, Shane. Thanks, Marty.
Enjoyed it.
Enjoyed it.
This is the Ping Proving Grounds podcast.